Hello and welcome to the fifth episode of ServiceDesk Plus Cloud Masterclass for the year 2024. Today we'll take a tour of all the latest features and enhancements that are made available in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. Let me introduce myself. I'm Bhuvneshwari and I'll be the trainer for today's session. We'll take a look at the agenda for today's session. First, we'll be seeing how we have extended workflows for all your core ITSM practices. So now, apart from change and release, you can also utilize workflows for all the other core ITSM practices. Then we'll see how you can leverage generative AI capabilities for using the ChatGPT integration for enhancing your service delivery. Then we'll take a look at some of the newer enhancements that we have made to Service Desk Plus Cloud. So we'll go ahead and see how Zia can now auto approve all your requests. And then we'll see how your technicians can collaborate better using the request sharing feature. We'll then see how you can set up fine-grained access controls for all your organization's assets. And then we'll take a look into the live chat enhancement that we have made. First, we'll discuss how you can design and deploy unique workflows for all your core ITSM practices. If you've been using the change and release management modules in Service Desk Plus Cloud, you might know that we have this visual workflow builder, which allows you to build different workflows for the different changes you'd implement or for the different releases you'd roll out. We have now extended this workflows capability to other modules as well. So apart from your existing workflows for your changes and releases, you can now build unique workflows for different incidents, requests, problems, and assets as well. In one of the previous episodes of this series, we saw how you can streamline your incident management and request fulfillment processes using request life cycles. So you might be wondering how workflows are different from these life cycles, right? To help you understand better, let me quickly switch to the product and show you the key differences between the two. Now, this is a life cycle that we have configured for all employee onboarding requests. As you can see, we have included different transitions through which the ticket would progress along with, as we can see, we have included different statuses through which the ticket would progress along with different transition actions. So whenever a technician is handling an employee onboarding request, he'd be guided through the process of fulfilling the request using these transition actions. And based on the change in status, different actions would be triggered based on these manual touch points. Now we are offering you with an alternative where you can associate different workflows to your employee onboarding requests or to any of the tickets that you are receiving in your service desk. So with workflows, the processes are seamlessly automated end to end, wherein you would not need any of these transition actions. So you can either associate a life cycle to a request or you can associate a workflow to a request. Please note that you cannot use them simultaneously. You can use only either one of them. Let me show you a ticket that has a workflow associated to it. So this is an employee onboarding request that has a workflow associated with it. As you can see, we are not able to see any of the transition actions that we saw earlier because with workflows, the processes are seamlessly automated end to end, wherein you need no manual touch points anywhere. So to view the workflow that has been associated with this request, you can navigate to the top right corner and click on workflows. Now, this is the workflow that we have configured for employee onboarding requests. As you can see, we have built in different parts for the ticket to progress and reach the fulfillment status, which is the close status right here. Let me walk you through the workflow node by node. So the ticket would start from the open status, and then we have configured an approval right here. Now, based on the approval, the ticket would move to the next status. So here, if the request is approved, it would move to the in progress status, or if it's rejected, it would directly move to the close status. After the in progress status, we have included a fork node, which would split the workflow into two different branches. So one branch would check for a condition wherein it would check whether an employee requires a laptop, and the other branch would check if the employee requires a mobile. So based on the conditions, the ticket would then progress through different nodes that would help us automate different conditions or different actions like setting up approvals, assigning tasks, or sending out notifications, and do a whole lot more. Now, let me show you how you can build a similar workflow right from scratch using the different nodes that are available in the workflow editor. All you have to do is get directed to the setup page, and under automations, you can find the workflow section. Now, initially, we had workflows only for change and release, right? Now that we have extended this capability to other modules as well, the workflows drop down menu will show you all the other modules for which you can create workflows for. For now, let me go into service requests and create a new workflow. You'd be prompted to enter a name for your workflow. So I'd say employee onboarding right here. And you can also add in a description to mention the purpose of this workflow. Now, once you're done with the description, you can go ahead and click on next. This would take you to the visual workflow editor wherein you can configure and build automations for your processes. Now, let me go ahead and add in the first node, which would be the status node. So my ticket would start from the open status and click on save. Now, this is how you can add in a node to your workflow editor. Now, this workflow editor is a simple no-code drag and drop canvas. Let me repeat, it is a no-code drag and drop canvas wherein you need no kind of coding skills to automate your workflows. So all you have to do is utilize the nodes that are available in the workflow editor. So to get access to these nodes, you can get directed to the arrow right here to open up the right hand side panel wherein all the available nodes are displayed. And for quick access, you can simply right click anywhere on the canvas and get access to these nodes. Now let's say my ticket is now in the open status and I would like to add in an approval node to make sure that I receive the necessary approval before my ticket proceeds on to the next status. So once I add in the approval node, I would be asked to fill in certain details. So the first detail I'm going to fill is the name for the approval. So let's say I'm gaining an approval from the reporting manager of the requester. So I would just add in the name as reporting manager. And then I can also define the approval wait for conditions. So I can choose from the drop down menu right here. So I can choose anyone to approve this request. I can choose everyone to approve this request, or I can base my decision on the first response action and many more other options. So for now, I would just choose everyone to approve. And then you can go ahead and map your approval to either specific organizational roles, request users, or users. So since we are gaining approval from the reporting manager of the requester, I would just add that role right here. Once you are done mapping the approval, you can go ahead and add in the subject for your approval notification and add in the notification message and click on save. Now that's how you add in an approval node onto the workflow editor. Now, let's say based on the approval, we would want our ticket to progress to the next status. So if the request is approved, I want my ticket to progress to the in progress status. So I would just drag and a node from here and add in a flow node again, which is the status node, and configure the status to be in progress. Now, let's say if my request is rejected, I would want it to progress to the close status directly. So I would just add in the node right here, which is again a flow node, a status node, where I would add in the status as closed. So this is how you can add in different statuses for your tickets and make your ticket progress through different statuses based on specific conditions or based on specific actions. Now let's say I would want the ticket in the in progress status to be split into different parts wherein I would check for all the employee requirements. So in this case, we would check whether an employee requires a laptop or an employee requires a mobile phone. So to split the workflow into multiple parts, you can utilize one of the branch nodes right here, which would be the fork node. So for now, I would name the fork node as employee requirements and click on save. Let me connect these nodes together. As I said, the fork node would split the workflow into multiple parts. So the fork node is generally called the multi-way branch node, wherein you can create up to 15 different branches from this node. So for now, I will just create two different branches. One is for mobile requirement and the other one for laptop requirement. Now to verify for certain conditions, I can go ahead and leverage one of the condition nodes called the if node to check whether an employee requires a laptop. So I can specify the condition name as laptop and add in the conditions, saying the conditions I would add in would be the questions that I've included in my request templates. So I can just add in the field saying if laptop required is yes, then my ticket has to take up this path. Now, similarly, I would also configure a condition node right from here for the mobile requirement verification. So again, an if node and add in mobile and set the field value. So if mobile required is yes, then my ticket would take up this path. Now, this condition node would check for the employee requirements and make your ticket progress through different paths. So as I said, the fork node is a multi-way branch node wherein you can split the workflow into different parts, right? So once my selected resource is laptop, my ticket would progress to the next status, or I would like to set some certain conditions wherein my ticket would progress based on the employee's laptop specification details. So the beauty of fork node is that both laptop and mobile requirements, so both these branches can work in parallel and your ticket can progress through each of these branches simultaneously. Now let's focus on the laptop requirement. So I'm going ahead and adding a different resource node to make sure that I set in certain conditions for the employee's laptop specification details. Now, the resource node is something that is specific to service request workflows because you can add in your resource questions that are included in your template to be set as conditions right here. So for now, I'd go ahead and add in the employee onboarding template right here. To make you understand better, let me quickly open an employee onboarding request template to show you how the resource information section looks there. Now, this is an employee onboarding request template. As you can see, we have a resource information section right here. So this section is very specific to all your service request templates, wherein you'll be collecting the resource related details from your employees or your requesters, right? So you can set in these questions as conditions using the resource node in the request workflows. And let's go back to our workflow. As I said, I'm building this node based on the laptop specification details. So let's say it's based on laptop OS details. So in that case, I would have multiple options to be set as conditions, right? So I can utilize the switch node from here and add in the resource details. So I would add in the question that I have included in my request template and add in the required fields. Now, let's say in the event of a mismatch or in the event of an error, I would like to set up an alternate path for my ticket and notify specific stakeholders. In that case, for the alternate path to be set up, I can go ahead and enable this checkbox right here. Now, once you are done, you can click on save, and that's how you add in a resource node to your workflow editor. Now, let's say on error, we would want your specific or relevant stakeholders to be notified of the error, right? So in that case, you can go ahead and utilize one of the action nodes called the notification nodes and configure the notification. So as you can see, you can go ahead and enter the notification name and add in a description for the notification. You can choose the mode through which your notification has to be sent. You can tag your notifications to respective stakeholders. You can choose from organization roles, request users, technicians, or requesters. You can add in the subject for your notification and again add in a message for your notification content. As always, you can utilize the dollar variable to pull in respective ticket details. Once you're done configuring the notification, you can click on save and select right here for your notification node to be added to the workflow editor. Now, let's say if the employee chooses Mac as their required OS type, we would want an approval to be configured. So in that case, you would again go and set up an approval node right here. So the approval node would be available under the action nodes, right? So you would go ahead and configure the approval for Mac OS requirement. So I just add in the name as Mac OS requirement. I can set up the wait for condition and add in relevant approval roles. So I would choose the reporting manager of requester and technician right here, and add in the subject and add in the message and click on save. Now let's say if this OS requirement has been approved, I'd want to assign a task to my technician. So in that case, I can utilize the task node from here, add it to the canvas and configure the task. So I can add in the task name or description, and I can also assign specific technician groups or technician as owner, and I can set up the status and priority for this task. Now let's say we'd want the workflow to be on hold, or you want your ticket to be on hold until your task has been completed. So in that case, you can go ahead and enable this checkbox to make your workflow wait until the task gets completed. Again, you can enable this checkbox to set up an alternate path as we saw before. Once you're done configuring the task, you can go ahead and save and select the task. Now, this is how you can add in a task to your workflow editor. I will just connect both of these nodes together. So if my request is approved, I assign my technician with a task of providing the hardware. Now, similarly, you can utilize the other nodes that are available in the panels, saying you can update certain fields using the field update node. You can also run low code custom function, like low code scripts using the custom function nodes. So this way you can create, or you can create specific capabilities for specific requirements of your organization that are not available right out of the box in ServiceDesk Plus. To communicate with any kind of third party applications, you can add in the webhook node. And you can also utilize the Zoho circuit node to connect to your on premises IT infrastructure to orchestrate a complex set of tasks, saying running PowerShell scripts, or to add in different users to your local Active Directory, and many more. Now, once you're done adding different nodes and configuring different actions, you can join all the forked operations using the join node right here. Now, let's go back to our workflow that we saw earlier and see how it works in action. Now, as you can see here, we have used the join node to join all the forked operations, and then our ticket proceeds to the last status, which would be the close status. Now that my ticket is in open status, we'll see how it progresses until it reaches the close status. So first, we have configured an approval, as I said earlier. So let me go back to my ticket workspace and approve this request and see if my ticket progresses to the next status, which would be the in progress status. So going back to our ticket workspace, under the approvals tab, I can go ahead and approve this request. So once I click on approve, I can go ahead and submit the approval. Give it some time for it to load. Now, as you can see, we'll go back to the workflow and see if our request has proceeded to the next status. I'll go back to the workflow. Yes. So if you see here, our ticket has progressed to the next status, which is the in progress status, and it has been forked into two different branches. One is for the laptop and the other one is for mobile. And now my ticket is waiting for an approval for the laptop and the mobile, right? So if I go ahead and approve these two requirements, my technician would be assigned with two different tasks. One is to provide laptop and the other one is to provide mobile. And if the technician completes both of those tasks, the ticket would then progress to the last status, which would be the close status. And I would also be notified in the middle saying that the resource has been allocated to the specific employee. So I'll go back to the ticket workspace and approve these two requirements. And we'll see if the ticket is proceeding to to trigger these tasks right here. So going back to the ticket workspace, I'd go ahead and approve of the mobile and laptop requirements. Let me refresh the screen. Yes. So as you can see here, we have 0 tasks assigned as of now. Once I approve these requirements, my task would be assigned to the technician. So I would go ahead and approve of the laptop requirement, submit it, and then approve of the mobile requirement. Click on approve and submit it. So if you had noticed, our task has been assigned here. So let me go back to the task tab right here. And 2 different tasks have been assigned. So if I proceed to close these tasks together, my ticket would move to the close status. So if you notice here, it is right now in progress and it has moved to close. Now this is how you can set up end-to-end automations for your requests and for all the other modules that are available in ServiceDesk Plus. We'll go back to the deck. As I said, now apart from change and release management, you can now utilize workflows for your incidents, requests, problems, and assets as well. Moving on to our next new feature, which is centered around leveraging generative AI capabilities for enhancing your service delivery. This can be achieved with the ChatGPT integration. With this integration, your end users will be able to seek for assistance. Your technicians can generate and polish their reply content, and they can also generate concise ticket summaries from within Microsoft Teams. So we'll see how this integration works in action. Let me go back to the product. As I mentioned, Zia, our very own AI assistant, can now tap into the vast knowledge of OpenAI and go beyond your internal knowledge base and find solutions for the different IT issues your employees might be facing. All you have to do is access the Ask ChatGPT option from within Zia. Type in a prompt for Zia to go and search for different resources. So I would just say, I am facing issues with my printer. I am facing issues with my printer and how to resolve it. So how to resolve it. So once I given the prompt, Zia would now be able to scour through a bunch of external sources and provide me with a detailed solution which I can implement and get my issue resolved. So this is how your end users can benefit from Zia or benefit from the ChatGPT integration. Now let's see how your technicians can benefit from this integration. So as a technician, you might be faced with a large volume of tickets for which you'll have to respond to your end users as quickly as possible, right? So in such cases, technicians can now leverage the ChatGPT integration to generate reply content or to polish their reply content for better readability and grammar. So let me go into a ticket and show you how that works. So as a technician, under the conversations tab, you can get access to the reply editor. And once you click on reply, technicians would now be able to access the reply assist icon. On clicking on it, technicians can either generate their reply content right from scratch, or they can also refine their text for better readability and grammar. This way, technicians would be able to send not just quick responses, but can also be clear and coherent with their responses, thereby maintaining high standards of communication. Now, if you have enabled Microsoft Teams integration with Service Desk Plus, your technicians will now be able to generate concise ticket summaries from within Microsoft Teams as well. So all they have to do is click on summarize right here, and they can distill down their ticket details into concise summaries, and they can stay updated of all the tickets that are coming their way. Now, this is how ChatGPT benefits both your end users and your technicians. Now, let's see how you can set up this integration in ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. So all you have to do is get directed to the setup page, and under apps and add-ons, you'd find the integration section. Under third-party integrations, you can go ahead and enable the ChatGPT integration. Once you enable it, you'd be prompted to configure your organization name, and then you can bring in the organization reference ID and the API key that is generated in your OpenAI account and add it to this ServiceDesk Plus integration. You'd also be able to select the different features that you'd like to enable for your end users and your technicians. And finally, you can click on Save. Now, once you've enabled this integration, let's say you'd like to track the usage statistics of the ChatGPT token consumption. So you can do that by clicking on Details right here. And by clicking on Usage Statistics, you'd be able to track the number of people who have used this integration, the token consumption, and you can also filter them based on individual users, or you can filter them based on specific time period as well. Now that was about ChatGPT integration. Let's go back to our deck and see what we'll be covering next. Now we'll take a look at some of the enhancements that we have made to ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. First, we'll be looking at how Zia can now predict your request for the can now have approval predictions. So let me navigate to the product. To set up Zia auto approval, you can get directed to the setup page, and under Zia, you can navigate to the artificial intelligence section. As you can see, these are the different assistive features that you can configure for Zia, and we also have two different toggle buttons right here. Once you set or enable the toggle button right here, this would you would be able to start training Zia. And if you enable this toggle, Zia would you would be able to apply Zia's learning onto your incoming tickets. So once you have enabled or set the status as turned on for auto approval, you can go ahead and configure the common phrases that would be used by your approvers in their approval emails. Once you have done configuring the approval phrases, you can also run tests to verify Zia's predictions. So all you have to do is click on run tests right here and add in a phrase that your approvers might use in their emails. So let me say good to go and click on run. As you can see, Zia has predicted this phrase to be a phrase for approval. So similarly, you can run tests for Zia and verify its prediction capabilities. You can also provide feedback for Zia to improve its accuracy on approval prediction. So the more feedback you provide for Zia, the better it will be able to predict correct approval actions. So once you run enough tests for Zia, you can also go ahead and set this status as on to apply your Zia's learning onto the incoming tickets. Now let's go back to the deck and see what we'll be covering next. So now we'll be seeing how your technicians can utilize the request sharing feature from ServiceDesk Plus. So as a technician, you might often encounter issues that are out of your expertise level or that are higher than your expertise level, right? In such cases, technicians can now collaborate with other technicians and resolve issues faster. Let's see how that can be done. So going back to the ticket workspace, technicians can access the share option right from the actions menu. Once they click on share, they'd be able to share the request to either specific technicians, technician groups, requesters, or to organization roles. So this way, technicians can collaborate better and resolve issues faster. And as a technician, if you'd like to keep track of all the requests that are coming your way or all the requests that have been shared to you, you can also filter them out by using this drop down menu, and here you can view the requests that are shared with you, or you can also take a look at the requests that are pending from your side. Now you'd be able to share requests with other technicians only if you're granted with specific permissions. So for that, we'll have to again get directed to the setup page, and under users and permissions, get into the roles section. Now, while configuring a new role under advanced permissions, only if the share request permission is enabled, a technician would be able to share their request to other technicians or other technician groups and requesters as well. Now, apart from this, you can also send in notifications to your users whenever a request is being shared. For that, you can get directed to the automations tab, and under notifications rules, you can go ahead and enable notifications whenever a request or a user is shared with a request. So you can send in notification either as an email, as a SMS, or through push notification. As always, you can customize the template by clicking on the icon next to the checkbox. You can add in the notification subject, add in the notification content, and again utilize the dollar variable to pull in specific ticket details. So that was about how you can help your technicians collaborate better for a faster fix of different incidents or faster resolution. Going back to the deck, we'll see how you can set up fine-grained access controls for the different organization assets you own. So to set up fine-grained access control, again get directed to the setup page, and under users and permissions, you can find the fine-grained access section. Now, let's say you would want only your network technicians to be able to access your network devices. In that case, I'd go ahead and create a new asset FGA, add in the name for the FGA. So I would say network technicians, and add in a description to mention the purpose, saying grants access to network devices, and or add in all the network technicians from the available list. So once you're done adding the technicians, you can also go ahead and select the product types to which they would have access to. So I would just choose the network devices like routers, servers, and switches. Now, if you wish to provide your network technicians to access all the assets in your organization, you also have that option right here. And if you wish to fine tune this access control, you can go ahead and enable this checkbox to set up some advanced criteria. So let's set in a condition saying if the network devices are in the state of in use, only then a network technician would be able to access those devices. So this is how you can set up fine grained access controls for your organization assets to eliminate any kind of unauthorized access to your sensitive assets. Now, apart from adding different FGAs, you can also edit or delete the FGAs right from here, and you can manage the technicians who have access to specific assets right from here. So you can either associate or dissociate technicians by clicking on the manage technician icon right here. Now that was about how you can set up fine-grained access controls for your organization's assets. The final enhancement that we will be looking today is the live chat enhancement. So the first thing that you would notice is the change in the layout and change in the UI. So we have implemented a fresh layout wherein we have organized all the features more intuitively. We have also introduced a new calls feature wherein your employees would be able to connect with your technicians in real time and get their issues resolved. We've also introduced an availability toggle button. So let's say whenever a technician is available, they can just set in the status as available. And if they need to step away for a bit, they can just disable the status and set the status as busy. With that, we have come to the end of today's session. Let me give you a quick recap of what we have covered so far. So we saw how you can build unique workflows for all your core ITSM practices. So apart from change and release, you can now automate and build workflows for your incidents, requests, problems, and assets as well. We then saw how you can leverage the ChatGPT integration, wherein your technicians can generate and polish their reply content, and they can also generate concise ticket summaries if the Microsoft Teams integration is enabled. And your technicians can and your end users can also utilize the ChatGPT integration to scour for different resources. We then saw some of the enhancements that we have made to ServiceDesk Plus Cloud. We saw how you can set up fine-grained access controls for your organization's assets. We saw how you can enable your technicians to share requests with other technicians and collaborate and resolve issues faster. We saw how you can or how Zia can now auto approve requests based on the approval emails or based on the historical ticketing data. Zia can now learn and auto approve requests. We finally saw how the live chat feature has been enhanced with a different UI. Thank you for your active participation. To learn more about the product, you can always refer to our admin guide. And to be aware of the new release features, you can refer to our release notes. And to take a look at the previous episodes of this series, you can go ahead and watch our YouTube videos. And you can write in your feedback to hello@servicedeskplus.com. Thank you for joining in today's session. I hope it was a useful one. Thanks again.